Hey guys, it's BearInABackpack, and welcome back to the No Games Here podcast. Today I'm joined by Tom.
Hello.
And Alex.
Hi.
Love the enthusiasm, Alex, every time. All right. Well, today we're here to talk about No Man's Sky, PS Now, and we're actually going to talk a little bit about the Time Magazine Top 50 Games of All Time that just came out not too long ago here. So we're going to start by talking about No Man's Sky, specifically how none of us are really surprised that it didn't do quite as well. Not that it didn't do quite as well as we thought it would do, but more that it's kind of going downhill. I mean, nobody's really covering it that much anymore. And I don't know, I guess I'm not surprised by that. I think, Tom, you were a little surprised by this, right?
Well, I wasn't necessarily surprised by the fact, because I mean, I've been saying since day one when I first saw it that I'm like, it sounds like a great idea, but a team that's that size with, that has their last experience was Joe Danger doesn't seem like something that strikes a lot of confidence with me. It's not like it's a big time developer that has done Space Sims before and that knows kind of how this procedure generation kind of works. So it wouldn't surprise me that they wouldn't be able to perform it. And so I was always kind of cautiously optimistic about the game, hoping that it would be good, but ultimately, expecting it to probably fail. But the biggest thing that I saw the stats wise, because obviously it sold really well. It was hard to get copies, especially on PlayStation.
Oh, yeah.
And on PC, it was on the top selling game for a few days there. And I'm sure it sold a ton of copies. But the problem is I think I saw an article of something that was saying that it's like player base has dropped 50% over the last week.
Well, I mean, that's not hard to see. I mean, if anyone who's ever played Spore, I know you have, Alex, but like
I have as well.
Okay, so we've all played Spore. And for those of us, and for those of you listening, I should say, if you've played Spore, you know that as soon as you get to the galaxy stage, it's like, oh my god, look at all these planets I can explore. Oh, they all have weird, crazy creatures on it. Oh my god. And then you explore about 5 planets and go, well, I'm bored. It's like, oh, it's the same thing every single time. I mean, yeah, they're kind of different. And really, No Man's Sky suffers from the same thing. There's almost too much to explore, really. There's just so much. I think what they say, however many quintillion planets, it's like, I mean, what does that matter if it's like, well, I mean, it's basically the same as the last planet. I guess this one's a little more purple. And that weird penis-looking monster has a couple more penis-looking appendages. Cool. All right. Yep, that's a ram with a horse tail, I guess. All right.
And not only that, but I think that when you get a game that has this much breadth that they're trying to go for, and I like everyone's always said, you don't want to be wide as an ocean, shallow as a pond situation. And I think it fell into that kind of trap where, when you see that E3 demo from or whatever Gamescom, whenever they showed this off originally, when they showed them with the giant dinosaur and the trees and the grass and everything were like. There were many different colors. There was many different landscapes, lakes, and there was different biomes that you could go on in each planet. That it made it almost seem like a Minecraft exploration style on a planet scale basis.
Yeah,
which was kind of intriguing because I mean I love that part about Minecraft that I get to explore and I walk and I could see this weird mountainous structure, then suddenly see a desert next to a lake, and everything just felt unique and different. And I always found that interesting part of Minecraft. Whereas this one just kind of, it's a lot of times it's barren. There's not a lot of trees. There's not a lot of vistas, and you travel a long ways on foot just to find, oh, look, I guess it's another cave that looks similar to the other cave. And there's no real reason to go and explore. Because in Minecraft, you could go, oh, diamonds. I could mine for obsidian. I could do a whole bunch of different things. Whereas this kind of made you feel like there's not much you could do.
Yeah, and like you were saying, using Minecraft again as an example, like, yeah, you could, like you were saying, like, mine and do all that, but you could also, like, oh, I'm going to build a castle on the top of this mountain. It's going to look awesome, and spend a few hours doing that, and then go, okay, but then I'm going to also build a city below it, and you could do all these things, and then, yeah, No Man's Sky, from what I've seen of it, it's like, you go there, it's like, well, I can name this weird horse creature Fluffy McFluffin'. That's fun, I guess.
And this planet, the planet Dong.
Oh, and no, Dong's the moon. The actual planet's Dong XL.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that kind of thing, which is, I guess, interesting, but I could only see, like, being interested in that for a couple hours and then just being like, well, okay, I guess I did that for a while. Moving on. And for as much as the game is, yeah. What do you think, Alex?
Well, I would say part of the problem why I think people are so disappointed in this is you look when it came out at what was it, Gamescom, Tom?
I think it was Gamescom 2014.
Yeah. So, they showed their intro video and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this is awesome. This is amazing. I'll pre-order it." And you'd ask them, and be like, "Well, what do you do?" And they'd be like, "I don't know, but it looks cool, so I'm gonna get it."
And you would ask the
So,
developers the same thing, and they would, because I mean, how long did it take us to figure out what actually the game was about? I mean, a week before it came out.
Yeah, something like that.
and there were already people. I mean, there were so many of these expectations without actually having any kind of
Substantiated proof.
yeah.
And I think we can safely say, even like taking expectations aside and like removing the hype, it still just kind of didn't really deliver on what it was promising. Like, it's like, I mean, yes, okay, they gave you the huge universe you can explore, but at the end of the day, you can't really do anything in it.
And not only that, but the game didn't look like what they were going for. Not that any game really does by the end of it, of the development cycle, because a lot of times they're just tech demos that they can, perfectly make a planet that looks great and that could be exciting for a demo. But, they tried to make it sound like there's so much exploration that you can do and that was their focus. But they forgot to mention that they shoehorned on a survival aspect that really kills your enthusiasm for exploration by, one, not letting you skim the planet so you could take your ship and just kind of fly around the planet at low altitude without burning a quarter of your fuel in doing so.
Oh,
That you have to go
Jesus.
down and spend an hour searching for fuel in order to do it again.
Yeah, there's just so many games nowadays that just shoehorn a survival element. It's like, well, it's a roguelike platformer with survival elements. Why? Why? It's a fucking platformer. Jesus Christ. Like, not everything
a
has to
soda.
be a hardcore. Yeah, I know, right? Not everything has to be a hardcore survival game. Like, sometimes I just want to play a racing game without having to worry if my driver's, ooh, he's a little dehydrated. Didn't eat recently. Up, he's probably going to die mid race. Like, what? No. Just let me play the goddamn game.
And those type of games have their place. I know, Alex, you've been playing a little bit of Ark Survival Evolved, right?
Yeah.
And that one I think does it pretty well, where it has survival aspects, but by the end of it, you kind of have a good enough stock, and that's kind of the focus of the game. And I think that having that as a
I mean,
focus
it's in
is
the
nice.
title.
Well, yeah.
And the best thing about that game is you can change multipliers. So you can be like, "Oh, I'm starting out at level 1, I'll just do like one-time resources." And then once you get through kind of the first bit and you're like, "All right, this is going too slowly," you bump it up to 3 times resources. And now you're moving at a reasonable pace instead of slogging through an exponential growth of required materials and experience.
The MMO model.
Yeah, and that's kind of what can be. And I think maybe this game could eventually become something good, kind of like Destiny did in year 2, where it started out with a ton of, the skeleton was there and there was some promise to it. Like No Man's Sky has promise. It's not like it's a horrible game, but it has a lot of things to fill out. And maybe with some more updates, a base building update, maybe a better crafting update, something maybe like a sliders, like an Ark Survival Evolved for survival aspects, so you could turn them off completely if you don't like them.
Well, I feel like if they're going to do that, though, they better act fast, because in today's market, like,
They can get
if
lost.
if you don't do it right the first time, or if you don't do it right, you don't fix it quickly, you're getting left in the dust. There's going to be another 30 games just like you that are out, that are better, that maybe the first time around didn't have that problem, that are going to outperform, and people are going to go to that game instead.
That's
I mean,
true.
you see it all the time on Steam. There's 30 different, roguelike games or 30 different survival games, but the ones that win are the ones that either are constantly updating or just did it right the first time. The rest of them get left in the dust and go off into the, off into oblivion.
Yeah, and hopefully that they can figure it out. And I do want them to be able to succeed, because a small team like that, they put a lot of effort into this game, and I know they tried their best to provide a game that can be fun and that they could make another game subsequently. And hopefully they can update it, and maybe once they bring some more content into it, I might be more interested in actually forking over a sales dollars anyway.
Well, and that's the other thing is and I'm not sure if this is an unsubstantiated rumor, if this is actual truth, But didn't No Man's Sky start off as more of an indie developed game and then was picked up by a major studio?
It was originally an indie developed game that they were going to do themselves, but Sony partnered with them to publish it.
So you got a large corporation involved that was like, this might be a $15, $20 game, but we partnered with you, so it's going to be a AAA title.
And not only that, but it's a PS4 exclusive in the console market.
So then you jack up price and you limit availability for something that, I mean, for $20, I'm not gonna say people wouldn't be mad, because I still think there's a lot of stuff they didn't do, but they wouldn't be $60 mad.
Yeah, because that game, I know we've all played a lot of Space Engineers, but that game interests me much more than that, and Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like they created a game where it's like, hey, make your own fun so we don't have to. Like,
that happens in a lot of games nowadays.
I know, right? They're like, what if we just make it super open-ended? Then we don't have to take the time to craft a good story or a good environment. Fuck it, they'll just make their own thing. It's all right. We don't have to actually care about designing a game.
And not only that, but we rely on post-patches and DLC in order to substantiate your stuff.
Cough, cough, Goat Simulator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but at least that one, like, they pretty much stated it's like, yeah, it's a do whatever game. There's really no point.
You knew what you were getting into buying that game.
Yeah, with a name like that, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, there was no like, I don't know. You knew. Everyone knew. Yeah. Well, I guess moving on from that, the next big announcement is the whole PS Now thing coming to PC. Which, when I first read that, I thought I was really interested in it. I was like, "Oh, cool! There's actually a lot of PlayStation exclusive titles that I'd love to experience now that I can play them on PC." And then you read the fine print and realized that it's a streaming service, and I'm like,
"Yep, it's like a Netflix."
Yeah, okay, well, but the thing is, though, like we've tried this before. Internet, it's called OnLive. Where's that? It's gone. It died.
And that kind of thing, and that kind of market works really nicely with things like Netflix and video streaming that, you just want to watch a couple movie at night. No one really owns a lot of movies anymore unless the ones they really want. So it makes sense. But like for games, a lot of times you want to buy it on sale and play it as much as you want. Whereas PS Now also with games, if you're playing a story game and suddenly it cuts out on you because your internet service just kind of timed out for a second, that's going to be really irritating.
Well, yeah, nobody really notices. Well, that's part of because they have pre-buffering and stuff to make sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, like if your internet lags a little bit, it's already pre-buffered, so whatever, you don't really miss that episode of Orange is the New Black. You'll just you might notice a little skip, but it's fine. That doesn't work when you're actively playing a game. Like, I've tried, back when OnLive was a thing, I played all kinds of games on. I think I played, like, Space Marine, the third-person shooter, and, like, oh my god, you notice every little bit of lag, and it's constant, too. Like, I had pretty decent internet, and it was still, like, I'd be moving, and you just have to try and react to it. You're like, well, I guess I'm shooting, a millisecond after I pulled the trigger instead of right away. It's like, oh, God.
Have you tried playing a game with the Windows Live API on it?
Oh, yeah. No, it's basically the same thing. But, yeah, I don't understand how they would think that that's a good idea. It's not... It clearly didn't work. And the worst part is, I'm reading... apparently, Sony acquired OnLive, which might inform why they're doing this, but then they discontinued the service. So, you would think that they would have learned from that and went,
Learning from things?
That's hilarious.
Well,
but
anyone who has go ahead.
I was like, I think that what their real push for this, why they're pushing PS Now so hard and why they're trying it in a market that's kind of rough, is because Microsoft went double down on backwards compatibility, and with their Play Anywhere service that they're going to PC, that PlayStation's starting to realize that, yes, we are leading the market in terms of console sales right now, but if we don't act fast, Microsoft's going to take over in terms of, well, they have their console, which basically is a PC as well, so people can buy their things on Microsoft platforms while also having it on PC, so they can have it in both markets and also be able to play their old games. Where now Sony is saying, oh crap, we don't have backwards compatibility and we don't do PC.
Yeah, but that's like saying Microsoft came out with the CD after being on a record for the longest time, and Sony's response is 8 tracks. Like, no, that's not gonna. You'd also need to be on CD. That's not how this works.
Betamax.
Betamax. Yeah, basically, yeah. It's like Blu-ray and like whatever. Oh God, what was the other version?
Betamax was a superior format.
Freaking. Yeah, it's like whatever the HD, whatever the possible.
The equivalent of it.
Yeah, it was like
VHS and Betamax and DVD and Blu-ray. Learn something new.
Does PlayStation Now interest you at all, Alex?
Not really. Do you know? I haven't looked up. Do you have to have a PlayStation subscription to use that?
It's its own subscription service, and I don't think you need PlayStation Plus with it. I could be wrong, but I think you just need a PlayStation Now subscription, which I don't think is very expensive from what I remember when I looked into it. But it was enough where I was like, I can just buy them for $4, the PlayStation 3 game at GameStop because I have a PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Which but I can understand it for people who don't have a PlayStation 3 and maybe want to go back and play some of those games and maybe don't want to purchase it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I feel like the way that games are going now with a lot of things not being backwards compatible anymore, and a lot of those games, you get more virtual console style stuff which is what Microsoft's kind of doing with their backwards compatibility and what Nintendo obviously does with the Wii U and the 3DS. Still mad about 3DS not having Super Nintendo games on the old 3DS.
There it is. He got it in.
Oh,
not bitter.
Not bitter at all, guys. Totally not bitter.
But I love the virtual console ideas, and I love the virtual console on Nintendo consoles because I can actually play my old games without having to go, I want to play Super Metroid. Let's take a look on Amazon how much it costs for it. Oh, it's $60.
Yeah, but again, there's a difference between that and I have to be connected to the internet with a damn good internet connection in order to hope to play this, and also hope that their servers are running, and like, it's just...
There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and I feel like that's the issue with having a service like that you don't actually own the games either. Quote unquote, anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of things like that even nowadays that, well, you don't technically own them.
Correct.
I mean, people have been saying that about Steam for years. The whole, like, well, not having an actual copy means at any moment. It's like, yeah, but, I mean, you kind of give up at some point. You're like, well, let's just accept it and move on.
Let's play some games and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, a big topic, which I'm sure will be quite a discussion here, is Time Magazine's recently released the 50 Best Video Games of All Time, which was released, it looks like, on August 23rd of this year. My God, they just missed the... Do you want me to go through the list, or...?
We can go through the list, but I was just thinking, like, whenever you hear a list like that, you're like, oh boy, now we're going to start pulling out the big guns, because everyone has their own stances on certain games, and everyone's like, that's rated too high, or that's not rated high enough.
Yeah, like, when we're going through this, for our listeners, I want you to realize that we're going to try and do this not so much... I mean, there's going to be some, like, just basic fanboying over games that's going to get us riled up. But it's mostly just because... Only you, Tom. Only you. There's only, like... We're going to really look at them from just, like, how popular they were and how much you've really heard about them, kind of the legacy they left behind. So we're going to go through the list, and we'll read them out and kind of discuss them if there's anything in particular. If anyone has anything to say, Tom, Alex, just go ahead and pipe up and we'll discuss it. But yeah, we're starting at number 50, King's Quest III, The Heir is Human. All right.
King's Quest III. Oh yeah, when you think best games of all time, that's what I think of first.
Yes, clearly. It's like, yes, released in 1986. Yes. I've never played it in my life. No, if for people who are listening who are like the game, whatever, it's just... You would think it'd be a little wider heard of.
I think it's just because it's a precursor game.
I could believe it.
It's a legacy game.
Yeah, it's before Nintendo was big.
Well, if they're going, it feels like that should be a separate list, though, don't you think? Than 50
Most
best.
influential games.
Yeah, or like, best starting game or something. Like, well, of course, it's King's Quest 3, so there's that. The funny thing is, number 49 is Dota 2. Like, and I want you guys to know that number 48 is Angry Birds. I realize that Angry Birds is stupidly popular, and there's like a movie, and there's all this stuff.
And so is Dota 2.
But so is Dota 2. Like, they're yearly championships with huge money payouts and a huge following of this game. And even that's behind, like, Guitar Hero.
And I like the idea of, I mean, I'm not a big MOBA fan in general. I know we've talked about that before, but I could at least recognize that Dota 2 is a genre-defining game. It is a very influential game for today, kind of pushed that esports market into the forefront of normal media, and it has had a following that is enormous. But I also think that judging it based on just its popularity is also seemingly unfair. Maybe that's kind of something that against like something like King's Quest 3 that is kind of rough, because if it doesn't necessarily get the recognition immediately that a game like Dota 2 or Angry Birds can get, I mean, we can both agree that, I think all of us can agree that Angry Birds is played by every person pretty much ever who has owned a smartphone at some point. And if you want to do it just based on multimedia coverage and the amount of people who have actually played it, I would say Angry Birds would be like top 5.
Yeah, well, and that's why I said I want to make it clear that it's important that you look at these things from a multitude of angles, like popularity, cult following, if it's a game that wasn't really all that popular but is now, or, there's a lot of different things to consider. And in the article, they don't really say much about what those identifiers were. I mean, they say representing multiple generations of gamers, Times Tech team put more than 150 nominees through a multi-stage ranking process to compile a cross-section of gaming's best ideas across nearly 4 decades. Okay, well, what were those?
That doesn't say anything about, like, are you...
Words, here's your article.
And it's kind of like, well, do you judge it based on how good the game was for its time versus how good it is? Does it hold up now? Because, I mean, those can be two totally different lists depending on how you phrase that.
Yeah, and that might completely inform the list. But, that aside, moving on to, like I said, 47 was Guitar Hero. 46 is Resident Evil 4, which is arguably probably the best Resident Evil game in existence.
If you're going to put that in one of them in the top 50, that's one you'd put.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Gran Turismo 3 at 45. 44 is Super Smash Bros., the N64 one, which, yeah, there's been better ones, but it's a pretty solid one.
And I think that they're giving them props for being the first of doing that in terms of, like, in the mainstream.
Yeah, I think they're definitely doing that.
That gives it some points. I mean, yes, I think the other ones improved on it, but that was the first one. That was the one that made it.
And it was risky.
Yeah, it was something people hadn't really tried before all that much, and then it's like, well, let's see what happens. And people loved it. And they're like, all right, let's keep making those. Cool.
It's easier to make a game better than trying to start from scratch, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Number 43, Call of Duty 2.
Good Call of Duty, not my favorite.
Yeah, there's, again, been better, but not bad.
I'm curious why they picked that one.
Like, yeah, of all the different Call of Duties?
I would have said 4 if only for the fact that it really kicked off
the Modern Warfare stuff.
Modern Warfare and just online shooters in general.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. It was one of the biggest first ones.
That and Halo were the two big
definers of that.
I mean, that's what got me interested in those types of games. I was like,
I love
this
Call
shit's
of Duty
awesome,
4.
man. Oh,
and
yeah.
even that, I mean, if you also wanted to make that argument, you could also go back to Call of Duty, just the original, and make it say that one was more influential for a first-person shooter of that time.
It might have been Medal of Honor at the time, though. I think Medal of Honor had the upper hand over Call of Duty when that came out.
That's true, but I'm saying if you're picking a Call of Duty, it seems odd that 2 was the one that was chosen.
Agreed. Number 42 is BioShock, which...
Great choice, but it seems a little low.
Yeah, it does seem. However, but what's just above that? ESPN NFL 2K15.
What the?
Cool. I know,
2K5. 2K5.
Sorry, 2K5. My bad.
2K15. I'm like, there was a 2K15?
No, it's ESPN NFL 2K5. My bad.
I'm sure NFL 2K5 was fun, but better than BioShock?
The good news, I mean, to be fair, in all of these, if you guys actually read the article below each one of them, they do have some reasoning. So, for instance, I'll read the one for ESPN NFL 2K5. Sorry, Madden NFL fans. True football gaming fanatics know this is the best gridiron game ever made. Released in 2004 for the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, ESPN NFL 2K5 featured a standout franchise building mode and in-game on-air talent from the eponymous sports network. It also marked a watershed movement in sports gaming lore. Publisher Sega priced the game at just $19.99, a fraction of what EA was charging for Madden NFL at the time. Well, some things never change, huh? Anywho, a frightened EA later scooped up the exclusive rights to the NFL and its players, making Madden the only name in town. Yeah, I mean, so they do give some explanation to why they picked the game, which is good, but overall, they don't really explain much on
it. Just seems like an odd game. Like, if you're saying, well, that's the best NFL game, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that there's can be the best Oregon Trail game. There can be the best, version of whatever game that you want to pick, but does that mean it makes the top 50 is kind of questionable to me. And I personally like Tecmo Bowl the best, but,
Top 40, starting with Pong.
And see, that's where you see that at number 40. You're like, okay, so obviously they give some influence for its legacy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of the first games that made gaming popular.
And to the home.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've all seen that 70s show episode where they're just playing Pong and like Kelso hacks the game.
And it was a cultural phenomena and really changed gaming forever. But if you say it as a game now, that's where I think that takes a huge hit, because I think, does anyone play Pong anymore? Anyone? Raise your hand.
I would bet there's someone somewhere.
One guy who's like, still got it.
I mean, it doesn't hold up anymore, and so that's where it's like, and that's where like this list seems kind of confusing at some points, because they're like modern relevance and then historical relevance. It's sometimes it feels a little strange to me.
Like, if all it really needs is a little like subtitle, like for instance, 39's Castlevania, they just need a subtitle that's like game-breaking feature or historical relevance, something that's like, oh, that's why that's here and at this particular position. It's like, okay, but yeah, so 39 is Castlevania. Okay, yeah. 38 is Portal 2.
Portal 2 is a great game,
followed by Braid.
Good
also
game,
pretty good. Yeah, there's a stretch in here where it's like, yeah, all right. 36 is Fallout 3.
Great game.
Yeah, it definitely brought Fallout into kind of the mainstream
and Western RPGs in general.
Yeah. 35 is Galaga, I guess.
It's influential.
Yeah, it's Red Dead Redemption at 34.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, which just makes me so sad there's not a PC port of it.
I don't think we'll ever get a PC port of that.
No, we never will. Well, I don't know. They've dug up some games from the graveyard of dead games.
That's true. Who knows, like 20 years from now, they're like, some guy says, and Rockstar says, hey, why haven't we done this yet?
Yeah, it'll be like Red Dead Redemption Redo, spelled Redux, because of course it is. And it'll be $50 because reasons. 33 is Super Mario Kart, which of all the Mario Kart games, why that one?
That's exactly my point. Like, there's a couple of these, like Call of Duty 2, you're like, why that one? And Super Mario Kart, that is not, I mean, yes, it was unique for its time, but and that's kind of, you get into your argument of, oh, do you choose the best one, or do you choose like what we said with Super Smash Bros. It wasn't the best Smash Bros, but I think that Super Smash Bros. Still holds up today, whereas Super Mario Kart doesn't quite hold up.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what they cite as the reasons why they chose this one. So apparently they say it was full of kart racing first, a circuit mode with varying degrees of difficulty, split screen versus mode, battle mode, and it also launched, they say it, and Super Mario Kart launched the series to a rocket start with memorable tracks like Rainbow Road, expert tactics like drifting, and maddening equalizers like the Lightning Bolt. So this one is a features one instead of like history or significance.
Yeah, it added some features that made it unique.
Rainbow Road, puke when you're like 7 years old because Technicolor.
Oh God, I'm waiting for Rainbow Road on VR. All the throw up. And seizures. All the seizures and throwing up. Ugh. Number 32 is Wolfenstein 3D, which, yeah, okay. I mean, all right.
It pushed that first-person genre into the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure which came out first, that or Doom. I'd have to look.
It kind of came out right around the same
Released
time.
shortly before Doom, so yeah, all right. Yep. 31 is The Sims. If you've ever wanted to strand your person in a pool by putting a hot dog in front of the staircase.
That game was huge for so long.
It's still pretty popular.
It is, but I mean, like, it was a cultural phenomenon. I know I played it.
Oh yeah. God, your sim was such an idiot though.
He was.
The least
he was an
capable.
idiot. And the amount of times that you set your house on fire, you're like, this doesn't happen very often.
Just making some toast and my house is on fire.
And then you get burned alive, and then your wife comes down and plays rock, paper, scissors with death just to keep you alive.
All the while being like, it's a bobble doodle. That's a be hard and loud do. You're like, God damn it. What the fuck?
What are you saying?
We're here to mourn the passing of Jebediah. His wife has a few words to say. Here's a bottle do. Hip-a-doo-hoo-doo. Insert insignia of like a football.
Money symbol.
Yeah, money symbol, football, car, astronaut. It's a bottle do. And goes, thank you for those kind words. Like, what the fuck? God damn it, Sims. Number 30 is Pokemon Red and Blue, which, yeah, I get it.
Oh, to me, those definitely deserve to be on there. I think that I would personally pick Yellow, and just because I think it's the better of those.
You would.
Hey,
Well,
I'm partial to Pokemon Red because
Why? You don't like Yellow?
No. Okay, I have a story behind why I'm partial to Pokemon Red. So the reason
Do you not like the color yellow?
Screw you, Tom.
And there goes Tom.
Anywho,
Bye, Tom.
See you, Tom. How's it going? So the reason I'm partial to Pokemon Red is because when I was a kid, this is what really got me into gaming. It was my first like real console, and like I got it from collecting Kool-Aid points, which will date me like a motherfucker. But back when Kool-Aid had points on the back of every packet, also informs why I was a little chubby for a kid. But you know, that's what you get for drinking sugar water daily. Anywho, so you take that.
Wait. Well, hold on, stop. So you got a Game Boy
by drinking enough sugar water.
By
yes.
drinking Kool-Aid, yet the first time you made Kool-Aid, you did not put sugar in it.
No, that was in college when I was entirely too busy and forgot to put sugar in it for a week. It took me a week to remember that. God, there's something wrong with this fucking Kool-Aid. It tastes terrible. I'm like, oh, it makes sense now.
You missed the most important ingredient in sugar water.
The sugar. But nonetheless, so I collected all these points and sent it in, and I got mailed this. So I got a red Game Boy, like the first one, I think. Or I guess not the first Game Boy, but you know
the
what
color,
I mean. Game
right?
Boy Pocket or whatever it was. Yeah, it wasn't color. It was the black and white one still, but it had a red casing on it. And Pokemon Red. And I spent so many hours playing this game. It was great. So I'm partial to Pokemon Red. So for me, that actually is extremely influential. But as you can see from the story, I am biased on this. So that's why I'm like, yeah, it makes sense.
I just thought Yellow was basically the same. It was exactly the same game, other than a couple little features that made it just that much better for me.
And Pikachu, you know.
Well, I mean, Pikachu's kind of an overrated Pokemon.
What? You don't say. You mean the flagship character of the entire franchise? No, it's fine.
Yeah, but you realize when you play that game that you're like, Ash is like cheating the wazoo out of this show.
Yeah.
What do you mean your guy could just grab people and then use the electricity from the water to electrocute another Pokemon that's immune to water? What the hell?
Yeah, but you also have to realize that he's a 9-year-old walking through, 10, I think, walking through grass filled with giant death sword insects that are aka Scyther, and it's like, no, this is fine. This is totally fine.
We'll send our kids out. This'll build character. I mean, look at Onyx. That dude could just smack him and kill him immediately.
Gyarados just
chomp.
Jesus. All right, number 29, Myst, the game about a lot of everything, but you'll have no idea what you're supposed to do.
It is a fantastic puzzle and lore game.
it's like, if there's ever a game where it's like, if you've ever wanted to stare at a wall for 30 minutes to try and figure out what the code is to get through the door, and then realize you needed to pick up a bear 3 hours ago, and the bear had the key to another door in a different city, so you could get that key from that city to then open a door in another city to come back to the wall and then open the door. It's like, god damn it.
It's the most backwards game I've ever played.
The subtitle for Myst should just be, "What am I doing?"
Or what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah. It is a good game, though. It really is. It's difficult.
Okay, then down the list we get...
28 is Donkey Kong, which,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was all right.
Eh.
Cabinet games was pretty good. 27 is Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I'd definitely say that was an influential game.
Especially for its violence that it put into games that...
It was influential and controversial. Yay!
Yay, video games actually being in the media for once.
Yeah.
For bad things. That never happens.
No, it's
Oh,
not like they're constantly in the media for that. That'd be weird.
What, you mean I can't pull your spine out of you and beat you to death with it?
I'm worried my little kid's gonna do that. Is your kid a bodybuilder? No. Well, then...
And is he a sociopath?
No. Well, then don't worry about it.
All right.
Yeah, it's always been interesting, the tie between people always wanted just violent video games make people violent. It's like, well, I mean, there's other aspects to it. I mean, I could see how it might desensitize a little bit, like you get used to seeing that kind of stuff. Okay, that's one thing, but like making someone want to go kill somebody,
cold-blooded murderer.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that's a mental thing. That's a completely different issue altogether.
Yeah, and that kind of game kind of really pushed that into the forefront of gaming media.
Oh yeah, and has since been there forever.
Since then,
All right, 26, StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty.
not the best StarCraft.
It's all right. I mean, I've played all of them and they're okay.
Alex, original StarCraft, back me up here.
Oh, you don't want it. You don't want to get me on my bandwagon, or not my bandwagon.
Well, you could join me on my bandwagon.
No, Tom.
I got
Tom
cookies.
gently pats the seat next to him.
I actively avoid trying to get on any bandwagon Tom is on.
Not a good idea.
It's usually not.
Usually a wheel's missing.
And an axle and the horse.
And on fire.
This is fine. This is fine. All right. Number 25, Halo Combat Evolved. Oh yeah.
Good
Yeah,
choice.
I definitely that should definitely be up there.
Halfway through the list.
Yeah.
Halfway. Yeah, you realize there are
Halfway.
24 games that are rated higher than this game.
The next one being Final Fantasy VII.
That was
Great
a good
choice.
game.
I really need to play more Final Fantasy games, but I just do not have the time.
Do you have time to play 13 Final Fantasies? Because I don't.
No, nobody does unless you've started
Except
playing
when you
them
were
when you're a
10.
kid. Yeah, when you're 10 and you're like, I guess I can play the game for the next 10 hours. It's fine. Yeah, no problem at all.
More like 40.
No, I meant per day for the next 2
Oh,
weeks.
per day. I thought you meant like, I was like,
A day for the next 8 days. Jesus. However, right above that and above Halo, BioShock, and Mortal Kombat, all of those games, Microsoft Flight Simulator X.
what the?
I mean, it's hyper realistic. Yeah.
And it was kind of a first flight sim that brought it to the mass media.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I kind of get it, but I don't
See,
get
that
it.
tier to me just doesn't feel like game, quote unquote. I don't know. It's that was one of those ones that's on the border of game to me.
Yeah, definitely. Alex, any thoughts? I know you've played this before, right?
Alex, I'm guessing.
Yes, yeah. I
I mean, it's fun, I guess. I mean, I'm as an aerospace engineer. I mean, yeah.
You can design your own planes in it.
So in terms of utility, yeah, it's nice. But
But
I don't know.
But better than BioShock?
Yeah, I don't know. After that, at number 22 is GoldenEye 007.
The game where you can't see anything and does not hold up.
I think I see a person or a weird misshapen clay man. I'm not sure. I must shoot it. Damn it! It was a mission critical NPC. I got to start over. Fuck.
And it's that game where you realize that what you saw when you were younger playing the game is not what it
I
actually
know,
was.
right? God, look at these graphics. Fuck, look at these graphics. Jesus.
How did I aim?
God damn it, Natalia. You're stuck on another fucking door. Jesus.
And that's why that one's one of those games that when I see them on these lists, I see it on these lists all the time, that I kind of go, yeah, but it loses a lot of hold up, because I mean, like I played it a ton when I was younger, and it did influence a lot of things in terms of kind of that party shooter kind of mechanic that made it really fun.
It was the Modern Warfare 4 of couch co-op. Well, co-op, air quotes.
And I think it was fun, but I just don't know. I mean, if you try to go back and play it now, I don't know if it's a great game.
I've played it recently. It's okay. It's okay.
And that's where I kind of get in that. You can get me into the argument of games that shouldn't be, considered greatest if they don't hold up.
Number 21 is Diablo 2.
Diablo 2, I played a ton of Diablo 2. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan of those kind of games, the kind of click around, and I guess what I forget. It's an RPG, but what do you call it? I guess hack and slash. It's like, yeah.
I think you could call it a hack and slash.
Number 20 is Zork.
Zork.
Text-based adventures.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of a weird, okay, I guess. I mean, in terms of, I get it. It was released in 1980. I mean, it was one of the first games available, so I guess.
But my point is that there's a lot of people in nowadays that that there wasn't somebody probably played it who was born after 1990.
Yeah, if you mention the word Zork, people are gonna be like, "Is that a zebra pork hybrid? What did I just eat?"
Zork. Zebra pork.
Zebra pork.
New Zork from the people who brought you Soylent Green. Number 19 is Space Invaders. Yeah, all right. I mean, also a solid arcade game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 18 is Rise of the Tomb Raider. Not any of the other myriad of Tomb Raiders that came before it. Apparently that one
was the one that was chosen, which is another one of those questions of why did they pick that one? I played Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Time reviewed it. Why did Time review it? Why is Time doing this?
They review games now.
It's like Forbes. Forbes used to be legitimate, and now all I see is game reviews from their site. It's like, what is
on Forbes? What? Aren't they
Forbes?
business?
Yeah, they do games reviews.
What the fuck? Okay. Whatever.
They're not too great anymore.
Number 17 is Half-Life 2. Yeah, all right.
Yes.
That's definitely deserves to be up near the top. Grand Theft Auto 3 at number 16. Definitely arguably one of the better, if not the best, Grand Theft Autos, yeah.
I just want to mention that I didn't like the original Half-Life very much.
Half-Life or Half-Life 2?
One.
Yeah, it was okay. It was kind of weird.
It's kind of clunky.
It is very clunky.
I don't know. I haven't played 2 yet because 1 did not stick with me.
You should play 2. It's much better.
Those games are more about story than...
They really are. They're also weirdly long for an FPS. It's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
Also, screw, what is it, Ravenholm? Freaking hate Ravenholm. It's surprisingly creepy for a first-person shooter that's not a horror game. It's very creepy.
The moans of the zombie are kill me backwards and
yeah, it's
slow down, right?
God help me or God kill me or something like that, and it's just that backwards and slowed down a bit. It's
creepy.
Ugh. At number 15, Counter-Strike. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's
yeah,
definitely, especially in terms of legacy. Oh yeah, there's a lot of Counter-Strike stuff.
I would think their game's better than it, but I can't argue it.
Yeah. 14 is Quake.
Very big arena shooter.
Mm-hmm. 13 is SimCity 2000, which Alex tells me is actually pretty good, but it also seems like why.
Tornadoes everywhere.
Yeah, this one I don't understand, but I haven't played it, so I shouldn't really offer an opinion on it. So I can't really say anything. But
it's one of the bigger ones that made SimCity popular,
I suppose. So that one's
and
definitely
city building in general.
Yeah,
historical legacy kind of thing, or firsts.
Roller Coaster Tycoon?
No.
Is that on here?
No, I like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Number 12 is Final Fantasy VI.
Yes.
I haven't played 6.
Yes.
I've heard a lot about it. I've heard that it's a really good one. Again, I'm sorry. If I had more time, I would play them. It's just I really don't have the time.
There comes a point when you just have a blind spot and you just can't fix it.
Number 11 is Sid Meier's Civilization 4.
Boo.
It was a lot. I think there were some upgrades relative to 5. Like
Alex,
it was
boo
a
with
little
me.
better.
Boo with me.
Yeah, I don't like Civ 5.
Oh, you guys just don't like 4X. Shh.
I don't like 4X.
They, as in terms of like 4X games, Civ is definitely probably the king, I would say, at least in my own opinion.
But it's like everyone treats it like it's the best thing since sliced bread. It's not.
I preferred my bread as a full loaf.
Look at all the games this one beat out on this list.
BioShock.
That is why I don't like this game.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's just a certain appeal to nuking Washington with Gandhi. It's okay. Hey. That's fun. In like 1885,
and there
it makes sense.
There's obviously those games are good and they have a lot of aspects to them. I just personally don't like them, and I agree with Alex that I think that they're often rated to where I'm just questioning. I'm like, even games that I'm not particularly fond of, like Counter-Strike.
Where's Age of Empires on this list, or Empire Earth?
Neither of those are on there.
And which are much better strategy games.
Yeah, much better strategy. Yeah.
Well, we're into the top 10, so we'll finish up these, and then we can go into what should be on here, at least in our opinion.
You're going to hear me go ape shit on a couple.
Oh my god.
Tom, if you say pod racer, I will drive to where you live and smack you across the face.
Pick me up on the way, or I guess wait until I get there, and then I'll go with you.
We'll tag team slap him across the face. It'll be fine.
If you slap me from both sides, it's not a slap.
Anywho, number 10 is World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it started the MMO genre really powerful.
Oh yeah, that definitely deserves to be where it's at, if not maybe a little higher.
I would argue that it's not a very good game, but it was influential.
But best games of all time, it's like, especially in terms of influential, it should be pretty high on the list.
I wasn't a big fan of the MMOs, but that's where it's like, that's one of those ones you just can't argue with people putting it in the list.
The Oregon Trail is number 9.
I love Oregon Trail.
What high school and or middle school and or elementary kid has not played this game?
And played it when you were supposed to be practicing typing.
Yeah. Now if we can all turn to page 3 of the typing manual.
If that didn't...
Oh my god, my brother died of dysentery!
I mean...
Good.
Typing, yes. Typing. Number 8 is Super Mario Bros., which is a weird... I get it because it's like, in terms of like starting things, influence. But if we're going in terms of like 2D Mario games, I think Super Mario Bros. 3 would probably be a better contender.
It's the best of the 2D Marios.
Yeah, and anyone who says Super Mario Brothers 2 is just, no.
It's better than 1.
I get... At least you do have to realize that, of course, it wasn't actually supposed to be a Mario game. It was just later turned into one, so that's why it's weird. So, whatever, but...
Pick up a block that I'm standing on as a bullet is flying. Yep, that makes sense.
Or jump onto the bullet and pick up the bullet.
That's what I mean.
In midair.
You're just like, am I just riding this giant egg that Birdo shot out? Yep, that's happening.
When you realize Birdo's a dude, and you're like, oh, well... Okay.
Wait, yeah, I always wondered that. I'm like, is Yoshi a girl or a boy? But he lays eggs. He/she lays eggs, but Birdo shoots eggs out of his or her mouth.
Mouth orifice thing.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Number 7 is The Legend of Zelda, the original on the NES.
And this is just keeps bringing up this. Why do they pick the weirdest ones? Sometimes they pick the best versions of those games, and sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they just pick the first.
But like when I with that one, I'm like, I look at it and I say, Super Mario Bros. Is not the best Mario, and they didn't put Mario Bros. Because they put 2 Final Fantasies on there, but they couldn't put 2 Marios in there.
Yeah, it seems weird.
Seems odd that they wouldn't be able to find room for Mario Bros. 3 and bump out, whatever the heck else that they put in there, Microsoft Flight Simulator or Angry Birds. They had to squeeze Angry Birds in there so that the little kids will read it. I don't know.
I'm surprised Flappy Bird isn't in here somewhere.
Yeah, seriously. And then A Link to the Past is probably the second best Zelda. And if you compare A Link to the Past to the original Zelda, it is superior in every single way.
Tom doesn't have an opinion on this at all.
No, he's completely neutral.
It is neutral. I would say it is neutral if 99% of the population that has a brain agrees with me, including my dog.
Okay. Anywho, number 6 is Minecraft. Yeah.
Minecraft, agree.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Relative position, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on that. But in terms of being on the list near the top, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you kind of like arguing positions, kind of a.
Yeah. Number 5 is Miss Pac-Man. Okay. Okay.
I don't
Alright.
think it belongs this high.
Nope. If
Yeah.
you want to mention it like at bottom half, I agree.
Yeah,
but
it's like Pac-Man.
like
yeah,
where
right.
Galaga was.
Yeah, it's like, all right.
Seems reasonable.
Number 4 is Doom.
Influential.
Following with our horrible problem with naming games and just restarting franchises willy-nilly, this, mind you, is the original 1993 Doom, not the one that just got
2016
released.
Doom.
Yeah, not 2016 Doom. So this is the, like, DOS Doom.
Like ugly ass game that kind of works.
Yeah, that one. So that is followed by The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time at number 3, which...
Not high enough!
Oh boy.
It's in the top 3, man. Calm your shit. It's...
I lose my mind if it's not.
Well, I mean, it's definitely an extremely good game, and it deserves every bit of where it's at. It could, yes, be argued. It could be higher, but that's all preference. Either way, in the top 10 is definitely where it should be at.
We'll get to number 1.
Yep.
So we've
the
read this
reason I'm
list in
upset.
advance, and yeah. Number 2 is Super Mario 64, which for 3D platformers, oh yeah, that was definitely a big innovator.
And it's a great game.
And it still holds up. Graphically, not at all, not even a little bit. But gameplay-wise,
a little bit.
I mean, kind of.
You can still play it.
You can't play GoldenEye. That's where I say that doesn't hold up.
It doesn't hurt your retinas to look at it, so there's that. So, yes.
And you're not going, what is happening?
Tom, I'm surprised you're not arguing for Super Mario Sunshine to be up here.
Oh, just wait.
How are we gonna wait? We're at number 2.
Join us next time on No Games Here when Tom finishes his thought.
Number 1 is Super Mario Sunshine.
No, number 1
no,
is,
it's not.
oddly enough, Tetris. Yes, Tetris. Look, I get it. It was a very influential game. It's relatively fun.
It's an effing game about blocks falling.
Yeah, and tell that to the people developing several movies on the subject. Remember, they said it had franchise potential. I'm like, it's Tetris. How are you going to make a franchise out of Tetris? Please, no. We saw what you did with Battleship. The only thing that made it Battleship is the fact there was a battleship in the movie. Letters from Iwo Jima could have been Battleship at that rate.
But the aliens shot exploding pegs, and that makes it more like Battleship.
Oh my god, did they really shoot exploding pegs? I didn't
Yes,
watch
they
it.
did.
Oh my god.
But Tetris being number 1 is kind of insulting, and to me anyway, as a gamer.
Yeah, like after all that, it's like Tetris. It's like, no, look, in the list, yes. Maybe middle of the list, sure. Top game of all time.
Like when you say to somebody, here is the game that if you only play one game in your, that's the one you pick? No.
It's not gonna be Tetris.
It would not be Tetris. If you ask every person in the entire world, if you could only play any gamer, if you could play one game again for the rest of your life, or you could have only played one, which would you play? I guarantee it that very few would say Tetris.
You just have a room full of people rocking themselves in a corner going it's like, oh my god.
I see them all around me, man. The blocks are falling.
The blocks are coming for me. Like, oh god.
I have a 4-piece and I can't get it to fit anywhere.
What do I do this L? Jesus Christ.
That's where I just don't see how it fits in this list at that position.
Yeah. And now since we finished the list, now we can get into the games that are not on this list that we're very confused why they're not on here. One of them being the Elder Scrolls. Any of them. Any at all. Not a single one was on this list.
Because it fits in terms of very influential. Any of them would fit in terms of popularity. Any of them would fit in terms of, genre defining.
Well, especially for Western RPGs. Like,
yeah, because I think it could fit in any of those categories and deserve a spot over Angry Birds. Okay.
Well, Tom, you brought this one up. The Mass Effect isn't in here.
Mass Effect to me is any of them, and you can argue which is the best of the Mass Effects, and that's fine. See, to me, Mass Effects would take up 3 of my top 10. So
Yeah,
it's just an argument of which is the best. I like 3 the best. People like 2 the best usually. 1, some people do, but I mean that series is very well done. BioWare has made it. I mean, you could say any of the BioWare games. Knights of the Old Republic is by far one of the best games excluded from this list.
Yeah, it's really weird. They missed quite a few big ones. Alex, are there any that you personally think should be on here?
Age of Empires.
Oh, yeah.
Empire Earth. Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like sending a citizen to go gather meat and then take back a giant T-bone steak?
Convert the catapult.
Your catapult has been converted to Christianity. What the?
There's nobody manning it.
It's like every time you play against Egypt in Age of Empires, it's like, oh, look, they have 150 priests on the mainland. Well, I guess I'm sending ballistas because they're the only thing with enough range to outrange the priests. And even then, I'm still going to get 8 converted. God damn it.
Other games that are kind of, I feel like that are, I mean, A Link to the Past is an obvious omission. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I mean, that is 99% of the time on the top 50s lists. And if it's not, then the person just didn't play it, usually. Yeah,
after reading through this list, what I'm getting the feel of is that what their real criteria seems to be is historical legacy, features, like what they brought to the table, and popularity. But with a real heavy weight on the first two and ranking popularity last. Because if you go by that, then a lot of those make sense. Because what it brought, like the features, like defining a genre or whatever, a lot of these, like, yeah, the first Zelda, okay. But if you're going by just like ratings wise, or like it's legitimately been defined as one of the best games, then yeah, A Link to the Past should have beaten that. Like, I think that's probably what their criterias really were. But again, who knows?
But then I could make the argument for games like Knights of the Republic, the best Star Wars game and a great RPG. Baldur's Gate was defined the ARPG, the top-down RPG, and no one's not even mentioned on here. Or, there's games like Curse of Monkey Island is a great game that did point and click very well.
Yeah, there's definitely some genres that have been excluded, like, other than like Mario Kart. Well, I guess there's Gran Turismo. I was going to say there weren't too many racing games.
Well, there's only one sports game, really.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to play NHL 2K15.
But I mean, and that's kind of like where like you get some of these genres that are ignored. But I guess it feels like they put importance on certain games. And it almost feels like some of these games are omitted because people didn't play them.
Yeah. Well, either that. I mean, we have to be fair to the people who wrote this article. We can't just smear them the whole time.
No.
What it should be known is that, like, we realize that there are so many games. There are an unbelievable amount of games, and to really get a top 50 that works for everybody is impossible. You're never going to get it. It just seems that there are some that there were fairly obvious choices, even not even being fans of the series. I'm just saying, like, games that innately seem like they should have been in a different place on this list or just weren't there. And that's where I think the writers may have missed the mark a little bit. Otherwise, in terms of like figuring all this stuff out and like the reasoning that they give for each one of these, it's pretty solid. It just seems weird.
Yeah.
The ones that are out of place.
Yeah, and it just feels like there's a couple of them that just feel like, because of the way they put Pong up there, I mean, everyone knows that Pong is not great anymore. And everyone knows that, but they give it so much relevance for the way it changed things in terms of that. So then you kind of say, well, then are you going to go with the first strategy game ever should be in the top 10, the first point and click game ever, the first RPG ever. It just feels like that they give points to certain genres and certain games and not some to others. Like Call of Duty 2.
Yeah, they definitely would have benefited from making this probably into separate lists.
Yeah, because I think that's when I see best of all time without a lot of description of their criteria makes it kind of, and especially if you don't have a breakdown for what you gave each score of each game.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's say you had 5 categories you rated it on. and you said, well, this one came out to be a 91 because of these, this, and this, and that's why it's higher than this one, then you can't argue it as much. Like, well, I would argue that it's 8, that the graphics are an 8, not a 9, but, you're arguing 1 point at that point.
I just want to point out that the last line of this article is in the description of Tetris, and it has to be the most depressing statement I've ever read in my life. It's also, and speaking of Zen, the game's also generated its share of life lessons, including this apocryphal truism: if Tetris has taught me anything, it's that errors pile up and accomplishments disappear. I'm like, oh my God, Jesus. Like,
yay!
Killing your mood since
like,
forever.
Thank you, Tetris. I didn't want to be happy. Cool. Thanks for that life lesson. Jesus.
But another one that most people disagree with me, but Super Mario Sunshine, guys, come on, it's great. Y'all just don't realize how great it is, except for me. I'm the only one who understands its brilliance.
I like it. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it.
A lot of people don't, though.
Yeah, I mean, we've all got those games. Pod Racer.
You all right there, Zach? It sounded like you said a great game.
No, it sounds like I said something. All right. That's not the word I'd use, but all right. I mean, I've got mine.
Shadows of the Empire.
I love that game. Everybody hates it. They hate it so much.
Yeah, there always is, and like we did with that last episode, that other episode we talked about. I mean, there's always those games that everyone likes that we don't, or vice versa, and that kind of makes these. I didn't say it was a great game. I said it was a fun game.
I don't think that's even true.
Yeah.
If you're
it's fun in a masochistic self-sadism way. Yes, it's great. It's wonderful.
But there are also games like Witcher 3, which is ignored from this list as well.
Yeah, any of the Witchers is like, really? No Witcher
But if you
games,
notice
right.
at this list, when you look at it as a whole, there are very few recent games.
I mean, to be fair though, I mean that kind of makes sense because it does take some time to see if something's going to live. Because think about it, if this list had come out a day ago and not a day ago, but a few days or weeks ago, No Man's Sky or something like that might have been on here because it's the most hyped game, it's the best thing ever, and then it dies, and then it's like, oh well, it's not really the best.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. But
you have to control for hype and
I'm not saying like
immediacy of games.
3 months old, but I think in a few years, like Mass Effect, you could figure out that it's pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean it hasn't quite. Well, I guess how long has it been for Witcher 3 now?
So Witcher 3 was 2014 May.
So a couple years. So
May 2000. No, it was 2015. Maybe.
Oh well, I still think it'll just take a couple years though to like really get to a point where you can tell if it had that impact or not, or if it was just a fleeting like popularity thing.
Yeah, and that's a good point. But I mean, like, there's like the 360 generation does get kind of ignored in lists like this a lot of times because it's more recent, and I think that we kind of rose tint glasses all of these old games, and that's where I get kind of frustrated when I see these types of lists and I have rose tinted glasses for Ocarina of Time and games like that, which I still feel like hold up today for somebody who's never played them, because I've seen many people who played them that have never played it with the youth glasses that I've got and still think they're great games. Maybe not as good as I think they are, but I feel like that the games that come out recently, that more recently than 2000, get kind of brushed under the rug because people just look back and say, man, wasn't GoldenEye great?
Kinda.
Not really.
I mean, if you liked
the
Potato
game great,
Face,
or did you just have a lot of fun playing it with?
There's a difference, and that's my point.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't able to separate the greatness of the games with, or really anything, really separate out the memory and what made the memory good. Like
you can have a great memory of GoldenEye.
I have a great memory of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, not because it's a great game, but because I played through it with my dad. So every day after school, I'd come home, we'd both link up the Game Boy. Well, he'd play on the Game Boy Advanced, and I'd play on the controller, and we'd play through the game. It was great. I got to spend a ton of time with my dad. We'd play, all these different levels and try and beat the game. It was great. It was a great experience, and that's why I like the game. Not necessarily because it's a good game, but because of the memory secondarily to it.
And that's where, like, when you remember games like GoldenEye, where nowadays, if you play it by yourself sitting in your room, you're like, ugh. God, this is sucky. But you're forgetting the portion that was fun. You were a 10, 12-year-old kid playing with your neighborhood friends who came over, and all of you were just having a blast, just running around the multiplayer maps and having a good time.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's something that's always going to happen. People are always going to make that mistake, and whatever. I mean, it happens. You just have to be aware it's happening, and don't go making mistakes on whether or not it was a good game.
Seriously.
Yeah, as a closing statement for this article, again, I still want to reiterate that we don't want to just poke fun at the article, right? We don't want to poke fun at the writers and just like, look how bad these guys are. That's not what we're saying. But they did a really good job of, doing all the rating. They clearly did a lot of work figuring out what made them great. They went through all this all this history of the games to make this list. It's just that there's a few things out of place, and that's what we're remarking on.
And few omissions.
Yeah, and a few omissions here or there. Otherwise, it's a good article.
And that's kind of what comes down with any article like that. You're always going to have omissions. But it's more of that there are omissions that are... Because, I don't mind if you want to say, well, I personally think that Grand Theft Auto 4 deserves to be number 49. And, when you're arguing the bottom half, I feel like it's kind of When you argue the games that are missing out of the obvious top 10 is where I start going,
All right, well, that ends this episode. I hope everybody enjoyed listening to this. It was good to talk to you, Tom, and you, Alex. It's always nice to kind of catch up on gaming news and talk about what's going on, and, just have a good time. All right, see you guys.
See ya.
See ya.